and welcome to Kirk in the Cloud, where we are wrapping up the Red Hat Summit we watched so you didn't have to. And with me today, I have Stu Miniman again. Hey, Stu.
Kirk, great to be with you. Thank you for the, love the intro there to kind of make sure wake me up. It has been a busy couple of days doing our part one of Red Hat Summit, global audience. So, yesterday I was up early talking to the Europeans about some of the things there. I've been watching all of it. And thanks for having me again.
Oh, no problem. Honestly, the honor is all mine. And for anyone not watching, what are we doing here? So Red Hat has been and gone part one of the summit. There's some really smart ways that they've built the show. So as I'm sure all of you are feeling, there is a little bit of fatigue around shows right now. So it was a great way of, I think Stuart, worked for me is just, it was short, it was sweet. Kind of like this roundup, so it's a shorter, sweeter version of what was already good. So for any of you watching, what is the purpose of what we're going through? We are going to round up all the key announcements in a very short video live, and we're going to get started right now. So for me, Stu, obviously you're a Red Hatter. What are the key things that you'd like to call out from the keynotes, spotlights, those sort of things?
Yeah, thanks, Kirk. So there's actually, there is a bunch, but not too much in the part one. We did try to keep it confined. So what's nice is if you miss some of it, there are available on demand. And the little pro tip I always have is, hey, if you are okay with it, certain things, I love listening to it usually at 1.5 or 2x speed sometimes. And then if there's something I need to pause, rewind, things like that, I can do it. And also if you get interrupted, you can pause it, which really nice. Everything has like global translations in there too. So, I heard during the keynotes, people loved it's like, I can get it in our language, whatever you want. It has that translation built in. So run through real quick because obviously, we're not going to go through the 2.5 days of content, but, what is our high level messaging? It is open hybrid cloud. Paul Cormier, who's now our CEO, has been in the role a little over a year. He's been with Red Hat a long time. He said, we've been talking at Red Hat for this for, more than 10 years now. And you think, boy, that's a long time. Hybrid cloud is very different today than it was 10 years ago. And Paul's like, hey, we feel justified. If you listen to, we had partners, Matt Garman from Amazon, Scott Guthrie from Microsoft, both came on and, of course, talked about the partnerships that we have. And if you listen to Microsoft, you listen to Amazon, they're talking a lot about hybrid cloud. From the cloud space where I live in, a lot of it is how we partner deeply with Microsoft and Amazon, and not just in the public cloud, but as you see them getting outside of their own data centers and in other environments, we can a lot of times have our technology go along with that. We've had a really long partnership with all the cloud providers on Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and more recently we've added a lot of the OpenShift goodness, our cloud pieces. So keynote going through the vision, how we're extending things out to edge, some really amazing technologies, how our customers are accelerating what they're doing, all the things that we saw in the last year then change. And from a product standpoint, some new services, including, really, if you look at it from a cloud standpoint, we create a platform to enable modern application development. So it's not just, infrastructure service, but it's how do I build new apps? And those new services, people will hear things like, streaming with Kafka and APIs and all these things. And if you're not deep in the space, it's like, what is it? Oh, is Red Hat giving you this really big stack and trying to sell you all these applications? And like, actually, most of it is we want to enable your development teams and help them to build the new apps that they want. So if you've got your existing apps, you can put them on our platform. If you're modernizing, we can help you do that. If you want to build new ones, we're an enabler for that. So that's really a lot of the conversations we're having with customers is that, understanding our portfolio and where do I add new things and build them to add differentiation for our company. That's where we spend a bunch of our time.
That's it, right? And I've been saying this for ages. Cloud is not a place. And there's never been a place. I mean, originally, maybe the first year or something, it was like, okay, it was the place you had to go. But that was like, if you're asking AWS or Amazon or Azure, where can I deploy this? And the answer was always Azure, AWS, in the cloud sort of thing. But it's totally changed, right? So now we're like, Okay, well, cloud is a way of doing things, and I think a lot of people forget that. It's almost like a culture in itself. So modern app development, CI/CD, you got all your units testing, everything else going on, and it varies wildly from customer to customer as to what technology you might use to power it. But then there's quite a bit of like common aspects to it. So you mentioned like Spark and things like that as well. So um, for me, it's like looking at it in a way, Red Hat is really helping people to say, hey, listen, here's tried, trusted, supported solutions for the majority of the problems we see out there that you can deploy easily wherever you like in the cloud of your choice, and more importantly, in an enterprise supported fashion as well. And that's pretty much for me how I look at it. It's going, wow, okay, so if my job is literally my livelihood is based on the decisions I make as to what am I doing for the next 2 or 3 years, it just sounds like a great place to be building out on a supported thing that I could sleep well at night. So so that's brilliant. And for anyone that that the open hybrid cloud might be new to someone, how would you summarize the open hybrid cloud in terms of what that means to you?
Sure. So what we provide is consistency wherever you are. So sometimes they say, wait, hybrid cloud, does that mean my data center and a public cloud? How does that differ from multi-cloud? That differentiation really is gone now. What it means is, my data center, hosted environments, multiple public clouds at the edge. Hybrid is yes. So Kirk, I actually remember there was an old ad campaign that your employer NetApp used. It's not or, it's and
Yeah.
that's what companies need. We know that everything in tech is always additive. So when I first joined Red Hat, I was like, hey, we can do the A to Z thing. So A is from your AWS's and Azure's all the way to the Z, which, remember Z series? I mean, mainframe. We can run our Linux and our OpenShift on the mainframe, and P series and all these environments. And you want to talk outposts and Azure hubs and all the things in between? Yeah, we can go there. It's funny, when I think about listening to Amazon for like the last 5-7 years, it's builders. When I look at Microsoft's done such a phenomenal job. Satya Nadella talk about the millions of new applications that you need to build. They of course have helped really push the revolution of SaaS with what they did with Office 365. And no one knows better than Microsoft that, hey, you still have some of your existing business productivity, and how do I modernize it? So it's all of those pieces. How do I modernize some? How do I take advantage of SaaS? And how do I build new? That's part of this hybrid. Hybrid isn't just about a location. It's hybrid apps, hybrid infrastructure, and all the tooling. So, you mentioned things like CI/CD, talk about, all these new ways of doing things. It's hybrid. How do I help my teams go from their traditional skill set? I'm used to running things in my data center, running around my data center, actually touching gear, to now managing things that are outside of my control. So that whole hybrid world, and of course, cloud is a big piece of it. And open, of course, from Red Hat standpoint, everything we do is open source, is community driven. We give it back, really clear. It's so funny how many people just don't understand. Paul Cormier, our CEO, again, he said, look, Red Hat is an enterprise software company. Open source is a development model, not a business model. We're offering managed services. We're offering lots of different ways of consumption. It's not, open source. We got a million questions on wait, I see some of these other companies out there. They're changing, they're forking, they're doing all these in open source. What is Red Hat's position? And we're like, we've been doing this for decades now. We're not going to change. We're not, the way we work and interact with the communities of open source is the way it has been. And, are there threats from, some of what the hyperscale big clouds do? Well, you see, we're partnering with them and we understand how that works. We've sorted through those. We don't create IP. We push it all upstream. We make that enterprise experience. We have ways that we build offerings and support for our channels and ourselves. So yeah, it's always great to get the community together, see, some things you look 10 years, have changed greatly, and other things, boy, we're having some of the same conversations. So yeah, everything changes and nothing changes, right, Kirk?
Yeah, definitely.
The way of our world.
So obviously there'll be a few techies watching, I think, and they're going to call out, right, demo. Every show's got to have a cool demo, right?
Yeah.
What was it for you?
Yeah, so Burst Sutter did 2 demos. So he did. It's funny. Everybody's like, okay, what's pre-recorded and what's live? On the second day, we're like fully live. So they actually built. They had a game that was built. It's built on Kubernetes and Quarkus and serverless. I think you're going to pull it up on the screen there.
Let's have a look. Ta-da.
People might recognize. Oh, hey, what is it? It's Battleship. And who am I competing against? I'm competing against artificial intelligence. So there's so many different pieces that they're like, okay, how do we scale this up and thousands of people can come hit this thing? And, gamified it, that they actually gave out some things there. That was pretty fun. But, you're competing against an AI, and there's things that they showed, like the heat map. If you look at the way most of the AI said, if you want to win, normally it's like the bottom 2 lines. So Kirk, you got a good strategy there against what the normal you've got an anti-pattern there. So if you hit click to play, it'll start going, and they're like, okay, pick, what, are you going to hit them? Oh, come on. You never start in the corner. You start in the corner.
I go for the X.
Yeah, look, they're hitting you already. So, we're going to have there. You got to have a little bit more. Usually to do a scatter plot, I'll usually start myself on the bottom line. And then go. So yeah, they're totally going to be killing you. But it was fun to go through it and learn a bunch, because you're like, okay, how am I using the modern Java? There's serverless pieces in here. Oh, good, they missed. Yeah.
You've lost my attention now.
No, I think they're going to say right now. Oh, boom.
So for anyone watching, if you want to try this out, it's redhatkeynote.com.
Yeah. So you always have to have some engagement and fun. So the demos are really good. One of the other news items there, we're trying to make it easier for people to try out these environments. Oh, you got his Battleship. Nice job. And so if you go to try.openshift.com, you can actually get like 30 days in a developer sandbox, or for our managed services, you can actually get 60 days of, moving forward to some of these environments. So,
okay, brilliant.
Right. Developer sandbox, managed services, or self-managed, 30 days or 60 days. The full pieces, those managed services, that 60 days, you're in the actual service. So do your configuration. Don't lose your clusters. Don't lose your configuration. You could actually take that going forward. So, love that we are trying to find ways to, in the cloud, it's always, how do I get my hands on this? How do I try this? Disclaimer is, if you're using this on Amazon or Google, the underlying infrastructure can cost you money. So anybody that's played in the sandbox, you understand, like, oh, hey, wait, let me try something out. Am I doing free tier? Have I chosen the free,
Yeah.
And, as our friend Corey Quinn always says, one of your best rules is when you're done with something, turn it off, because then you won't get charged more for it. Nothing more than you want is like, oh, hey, I was trying this stuff out, and all of a sudden you get this ping from the credit card or from finance saying, what did you do?
Oh, and that process is not a fast one to sort that out. So yeah, been there, done that.
Wait, Kirk, cloud is cheap and easy, right? Except when it's not.
Exactly. It's more agile than everything else. Yeah, but it can get you into a whole heap of trouble. I'm going to have to come off this game now, because otherwise
we've lost you. I know. Totally. They're rooting you on in the comments, I see. So
people have to call out A1, B2, right? So I love that. Good tech demo, really, really interactive and stuff. So that kind of leads on to, I think, a bit of vision. Anything to call out on the vision aspect? What we got to look forward to over the next sort of 6-12 months?
Yeah, so a big place where kind of the new leading edge, if you will. Do you know where I'm going, Kirk? It's we're talking about edge. So we actually have like a new brand around Red Hat Edge, and that doesn't mean that we rolled out 17 new products. It's how are we doing RHEL at the edge? How are we doing smaller footprint of OpenShift at the edge? Having a lot of those discussions, and of course automation and things like machine learning and AI tie a lot in there. So some big pushes in like the telco space that have a lot of activity going on there. And I tell you, I don't know if you're a space guy. I'm a big always geek out on space. Like when I interviewed a guy from like NASA JPL, I was like sharing it on my Facebook and everything like that. But we've actually got some of our solutions like up on like the International Space Station now. There is Linux up on Mars now. So like I know all my peers at Red Hat, like we all geek out and are so like super excited when we get some of these things going. So I call that the far edge, because if it can take 4 minutes to 24 minutes for like your message to get there, this isn't your the normal thing that you do. I spend
Where's your edge? Mars.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you call the disconnected edge, by the way, because you're definitely doing things a little bit different, but we know how to do that here on planet Earth too. There's definitely government customers that lock things down that you have about as much communication as we do on Mars. So yeah, it's always it's good. We love the mix of I tell you, great customer sessions. Like one that jumped out at me, I heard like FEMA talking about some of the things they were doing, talked about like the immutability of code and how they have it portable, but security, of course, so important for a government agency federal emergency management. And not just COVID, but like last year, natural disasters unfortunately didn't leave us alone. So they talked about the impact our technology had. So yeah, I mean it's interesting. I've been going to this show for years, and there's certain things where it's like, okay, here's the incremental progression, and then like, what are the cool new things? Our friends at IBM, you'll go listen to them talk about quantum. We partner with them on some of those activities, but a lot of like edge space, cool things that are happening there. So yeah, it's a lot going on.
I think there was IBM Satellite, wasn't it, as well? That was mentioned, I think. So
yeah, IBM Satellite is one of the if we talked about how we're getting cloud environments going out to more for our region. This is IBM's, and a differentiation is Amazon and Microsoft. Hey, we've got something we can put in your data center. Here's our stack, our rack, our a thing there. From an IBM standpoint, it's software. So that actually leverage partners, we partner with them on that. Every time, just the cliff notes, if you hear our friends at IBM, if they use hybrid cloud or usually like cloud platform container and everything, that there's Red Hat technology underneath there. That's where we have it. So satellites there, and definitely something. KubeCon's coming up next week, so I'm sure we'll hear more from IBM and Red Hat. We've got a lot going on at KubeCon EU next week too.
Oh man, that's really cool. So I suppose last bit then would be, we've been through keynotes, we've been through spotlights, been through the demo, which I'm going to return to straight after this and go win against the SAI. What do you say the winning percentage was?
I don't know what they had it set at. It's definitely, the AI does win more than a half.
Okay.
And so it's, I always like those. I like playing against the games where it's like, you've got less than a 50% chance of winning, and like, yes, I beat the AI.
Let's do it. So great customers, you mentioned FEMA. So vision, fundamentals. So that pretty much rounds us out to just the final sort of thing around the special guests. Obviously you had a bit of a action-packed lineup there.
So unfortunately, if you didn't catch live, if I was just before we got on, I was poking around. 2 of the 4 guests, the ones that I spent the most time watching, are not on demand. But Mick Ebling is from Not Impossible. If you are not familiar with him, go check out his TED Talk. He is amazing. He will warn you. I will warn you that it will probably bring you to tears. And we've done some joint fundraising with them. So specifically around hunger. So if you check out the Red Hat Summit website, you can see there. Of course, love people to participate. The other one, I geeked out on Kumail Nanjiani, who, I'd watched him plenty on Silicon Valley. Watch his movie Big Sick. He's coming out in a Marvel movie, The Eternals, and he's going to be an Obi-Wan. And, if you can't tell, I'm kind of a Star Wars geek. I was like, Obi-Wan, can't wait to see him in that. And he was hilarious. But Ben Folds and Joseph Gordon-Levitt are both on demand. So I've heard Joseph Gordon-Levitt speak, and he actually talks a bunch about open source. Mick Ebling, who's like, they're hackers, and he's like, I love the Red Hat community and Linux, and they use all of that in their programming. So it's so great to hear, some of these, not just inspirational, but it actually ties to our technology. And Ben Folds, if you're a fan of his music, he actually plays a few songs. He tells a little bit about, some of his life stories, and it's enjoyable. It's fun. The kind of thing that, right in your own living room or your home office or wherever you happen to be watching now.
Oh, that's brilliant, Steve. Thanks for that. So I think we've been over everything as promised. We said we would keep it short, sweet, all the main highlights, everything you need to there, and obviously the main game, which Battleship. So I'm sorry I've wrecked your productivity, everyone, but you're gonna have to try and beat the AI now. But for anyone that's looking for the link, I think it's just behind your head there, isn't it? Right. So
it is. Oh, yep. So right. red.ht/summit, and right, the registration for Red Hat Summit, which is free, not only would get you the on-demand for the stuff that we just did this week, but in June, we've got more Ask the Experts. We've got the deep dives. A lot of times you're like, oh, hey, I saw that announcement. How does that work? And can I get in a little bit deeper? That's there. And yeah, I mean, we didn't talk about it, but, we did have some good places where, you could come in, ask live questions, chat. It's always... we had some good opportunities, some good engagement, but, it's challenging, in today's day as to how you do that. So, we were real happy with the attendance, seemed to be getting some really good vibes from the community. But please, if you have any feedback, let us know. I'm super easy to find on the Twitters there, at Stu. Yeah.
Which is a whole nother story. So that's brilliant. Thanks, Stu. So hopefully everyone, you enjoyed that. You've learned a bit more about what the summit was, the main announcements and everything in 20 minutes. So we've saved you even more time. It was already a short one anyway. And just like to say huge thanks to Stu jumping on again. If you haven't seen it, we did do a pre-show, which now you've got the post-show. So I don't think you'll watch the pre-show, but if you did want to watch it, you can. And this will be made available on YouTube. So check out the post that we're putting out very shortly, where you can watch this again on YouTube and share it with your friends. So thanks very much. That's all from us today. Thanks again, Stu, for joining me. Always a pleasure. And thanks everyone for watching. We'll speak to you soon.